So welcome to this talk. Once again, we will be talking today about the relationship between designers and developers. Anybody has any idea about how this goes? Or maybe is any of you familiar or is actually or was actually a developer? What idea do you have about the relationship between designers and developers besides a lot of marriages? Actually, it happens a lot. Do you think it's a good one, a bad one? You have no idea. How do you feel about it? Tell me in the chat. No idea? Okay, I see you're very shy. I heard they don't like each other. Ah, that's what I was waiting to hear. Yes, this is like a ongoing topic, okay? The relationship between designers and developers, that they don't get along and so on. Is it like a could it be like a urban myth, or is this really true? In reality, it's more or less, okay? Like some designers would have a little bit of more conflict with developers. It depends, okay? Others don't. You shouldn't, okay? Because it's a relationship that will just help your products and your experiences to be the best they can, okay? So today we will talk a little bit about it. Floyd says here, cooperative at times, adversarial in others. Yeah, it depends how we go through things. Also depends on the maturity of the teams we work with, to be honest, okay? Most developers don't care about design, says Ryan. All of this is always a little bit relative, no? Depends on where you are working, with who, and so on. Okay, there's also a lot that we can do ourselves as a designer. Yeah, not a fan of JavaScript, says Ryan. All right, cool. So let's get started and let's talk a little bit about this relationship and all the topics you might need. Well, you will need for sure to know a little bit, okay? So then when you start your job in a company, either is an agency or a product company, you are familiar and it's not going to be super strange to understand the way they work and how things go, okay? So I'm going to give you a little bit of an introduction about myself so you know a little bit about my background. We will talk a little bit about the difference between agency and a product company, okay? Most likely you will work either in one or the other, yeah? Then we will talk about the Agile methodology and Scrum. Anybody has heard about this before? I see some heads up. Perfect. Okay, good. And then talking a little bit about how is it today to the work of a designer working with a development team, and some tips for better collaboration, yeah, to fight a little bit what we were reading here about designers and developers don't go along and they don't care and so on and so on, okay? So a little bit about myself. I'm a designer for over 16, 17 years now. So I did the bachelor in audiovisual and multimedia. Then I work as a designer for like eight or 9 years in digital agencies, advertising back in Lisbon. I'm Portuguese, by the way, even though I live here in Barcelona. And I work with a lot of big clients like Pepsi, Volkswagen, and so on. After these 7, 8 years, I went to take a master degree. And in this master degree, I got the chance to do my thesis in Amsterdam. And in there, it was like a program, very interesting program, actually. If you want to check it, it's called Digital Society School in Amsterdam. At the time, it was called Media Design Lab. And it gathers students from all over the world, and the students work in real projects with very innovative methods and so on. Is really nice. So I went there to do this program and to write my thesis. I ended up staying there, working in a small UX boutique, doing a lot of work for Philips mainly. That's the reason why I actually went to Seattle, because we were doing some work for Philips. So until then, I was just working in agencies, digital agencies, let's say, yeah. And then I moved into product. I went into a company that was designing a smart thermostat called QB, and the thermostat name was Toon, the name of it. And also for you to understand that as a designers, we don't design just websites and apps. You could be designing for a different device or something very unique. That was the case of this device, the thermostat, okay? I worked there for 2 years more or less, a bit more. And then I got a bit tired of the weather in Amsterdam, and I moved here to Barcelona to work at the secondhand marketplace called Letgo. It doesn't exist anymore. In the United States, it got acquired by OfferUp. So it's just an app where you can buy and sell secondhand goods, let's say it. In that company, once we sold it, we had a lot of customers in Turkey, so we developed a new business there. It was very interesting. It grew a lot. It got acquired as well, just for you to also understand how it goes working in product companies. And when I say product companies, it's startups, okay, tech. Yeah, it goes a little bit like that. Either they are successful and they get acquired, or they become big corporates, or they basically close. That's it. That's how it goes. Yeah, just for you to know as well what to expect. Okay, regarding searching a job in the area, and like the fluctuates a little bit. Okay. In the past 2 years, I started to teach and to mentor, and since last year, I'm fully committed to it. So I'm just teaching and mentoring at the time. All right. So now that you know a little bit about myself, you also understood that I have experience in agency and I have experience in product as well. Somebody raised the hand? Yeah. Anything? Or was maybe an error? If you have any questions, I recommend you to leave it for later, okay? Just take a note of the topic so then we don't lose it in the chat, yeah? Good. So as I was telling you, I had like experience in agency and experience in product, different services, different fields, okay? And there are some points that will be different, yeah? What do you think working in an agency looks like? Any ideas on the chat? Maybe you can drop your comments. How do you imagine it's like to work in an agency? Fast-paced? Oof, yes, absolutely. More. Constant new projects, yes. A variety of user needs. More project-based, sometimes interfacing with clients. Breathe over that. Yeah, it depends, yeah. But you touch the most important points here, okay? You always have different projects because you work for different clients, okay? So you could be 3 months working for a project, 6 months for another one, 1 year working for another one, or maybe you can even work in 2 projects at the same time. It really depends how the agency is organized. It's usually very fast-paced, okay? The good thing about it is this environment will make you learn a lot. So because it's so fast-paced and you have to manage time management skills, you have to just be creative and deliver things, you have tight deadlines and so on, you also grow a lot, okay? Maybe on the full run is not super sustainable. It depends also how you want your life to be honest, yeah? But it's good, perfect way to start and build a lot of skin, let's say, yeah? Not always you will work with developers in an agency. It depends on the project, okay? And not always you will follow a steady process. So at Designlab, if you did like the UX Academy, you learn a specific process, the design process or the UX process, that you have the research first, and then you do the data collection, you do the data analysis, then you have a problem statement, ideation, information architecture, and so on. Not always this will happen, and not always you'll be actually doing UX work, okay? It really depends, yeah? It depends on the purpose of the company, depends on the clients, what they are searching. Some clients want to also have research, others come in with the research already done, with some reports. This will always vary. So be prepared for that, okay? That is not going to be the same process, nor as linear as you might as you learn here and as you are doing, okay? In product as well, okay? It's not always like that. And again, projects are mostly driven by a deadline and deliverables. So there's a big pressure, okay? But it's also very fun. Like if I think about the work that I did in the early years of my career, I did so much in such a short time, and everything was super creative because of the pressure. But for example, now I don't think I could manage it anymore because, I mean, also life devolves in a specific way, no? You start prioritizing other stuff. but it was a lot of growth and a lot of creative things for sure. Now, when we talk about a product or a startup, or if you want to work in tech, when I say this, I'm referring to like Spotify's, Instagram, any Strava, like any product that you use nowadays. It started with a startup, okay? The rhythm can be also very intense. It depends, okay? In the beginning, if it's a startup that is just starting, it's going to be definitely super intense, because how startups work is that they have investors, and the investors put money into the company because they expect a return of investment of some point. Yeah, and you really need to deliver as well. So it can be intense in the beginning, I would say more, okay? But in general, they are less fast-paced than agencies. One of the reasons is because you are just working with one product. You are always working on your own product, yeah? And this can be super rewarding because you really get to know the users, you get to know features being launched and the impact, and you can continuously iterate on it, okay? You grow with the products, yeah? You never leave it. Versus in the digital agencies, you deliver to the client and you say goodbye, okay? You don't know if they're going to implement it as you intended, or if it's going to work well, or you just don't know. You just deliver it and that's it, okay? Except if there's a different type of agreement, but in general, this is like that. When you work in product, you work closely with the development team, okay? Most companies, they have like, I don't know, like 5 teams of developers. Well, I don't know if it's 5, but they have a couple of teams, and each team tackle a specific part of the product. Let's say Instagram, for example. One team works just with the feed. The other team works just with the search, yeah? So this is typically how companies are structured in tech, okay? Teams operate within specific features or parts of the app or the website or whatever is the product. In general, designers work close with the development team, okay? There's for sure a development team, versus in agencies, could be, we don't know, yeah, it depends. And you are constantly improving your user's experience. It's very rewarding from that point of view, okay? Most likely, you'll always work within the same methodology process, okay? And we will talk about this as well. Now, Agile methodology. This is the process most companies work with, okay? Most tech companies work with. If you have any questions, don't forget for later to add it there, okay? Or maybe if you want to add it now, just put a title like question and then ask so I can track it back later. So, Agile methodology is a framework used in most software development companies or product companies. That's how I am calling them. The purpose of an Agile team is to be constantly delivering value, okay? The Agile methodology is all about that, being agile, okay? And being agile means that you are always delivering value to your user. You're always developing things incrementally, okay? And you are always iterating based on feedback, yeah? Opposite to the waterfall approach. That's an approach that was commonly used. Some companies still might use it. Agencies probably use it because they just do something and deliver it, okay? The waterfall approach is basically when you just think about, oh, I'm going to do this feature, and you spend a year or 6 months or whatever developing it, and then you launch it. But when you launch it, maybe you realize, okay, this is not working. The users don't like it. We didn't have enough feedback before. And most of the times it's big risk because it's a lot of time, and time is money, okay? In the beginning of the times, most tech companies were just, most products actually in the beginning were just developed by developers, okay? There were a lot of companies didn't have any designers, not like now. And this was kind of typical, like somebody, I have this idea or this feature, let's develop features, and then we will see after a year, and this was a problem, okay? With the Agile methodology, every sprint, which usually is 2 weeks, you deliver something. And when I say deliver, I mean it's online. If it's an app, is launched into the app, okay? It's like the updates that you see. Sometimes it updates automatically, or the websites or whatever product it is, okay? So this is pretty much the approach all the companies have. And I recommend all the designers to have this as well, okay? Because some of us sometimes have this, I need it to be perfect, and you don't stop until it's perfect. This is wrong, okay? You will suffer a lot if you have this approach. So embed in yourself this thought about being agile as well in your work, okay? So good enough, it's a mindset that is very important, okay? I did this, this is good enough. Maybe you have a vision or an holistic vision on how things could look like or how you could make it better. Keep it. You can still do it as you progress, okay? So do not try to do miracles in 2 weeks, because it's not going to be possible. The idea is always to do something, test it, see if it works. If it works, good. If it doesn't, we iterate it again. That's pretty much the approach, okay? Now, when we work with the Agile methodology, we apply it by using Scrum, okay? There's also like a Kanban and so on, but Scrum is the most used, okay? Scrum is a way to apply the Agile methodology, as I was saying, and it's just, it's a series of ceremonies that help you keep your work at pace so that you can actually deliver something after 2 weeks, which is a very short period of time, as you can imagine, okay? So let's take a look on how this will go, and don't be scared, okay? It's just for you to have an idea on how this will work during these 2 weeks, because as a designer, you need to know. You need to know how your designers are working. And if you are embedded in the team, which I strongly recommend, you should participate on this as well, okay? So all product companies, now we are just focused on product companies, by the way, okay? All product companies have a backlog. All development teams have a backlog. This backlog has a lot of tasks, okay? I don't know if you heard about Jira. Jira is a platform that helps you have like your tasks, okay? Mostly for developers, but also for designers. You have this backlog, and in this backlog, you have all the tasks that you need to get done to deliver specific features. Who decides who are these features? Well, top level, C-level, no? What are the company goals? What are the quarter goals? What are the OKRs that we need to achieve as a team, as a company? All of these influenciate which tasks you need to have to accomplish whatever you need to accomplish, okay? So from this backlog, the team, well, the project manager usually, and the Scrum Master, if they have, which is the person that masters all these ceremonies, will do something that is called the sprint planning, okay? In the sprint planning, which happens in the last day of the sprint, because you plan the next one, you'll have a goal and you'll have a certain amount of tasks. These tasks could also be design tasks, okay? Depends on how you work with your team. I always work embedded in a team, because I think you just make everything better. The experience for the user, the experience of working together, collaborating is totally different, okay? The sprint planning can have tasks for the designer, for the developers, yeah, for everybody. Once you have this planned out, and have in your mind that these tasks are supposed to be done in 2 weeks, so it's not going to be 300 tasks. It's only the tasks that could be done, that they know the team can do. Yeah, then you start to relate, that's why this is not so fast paced, because things are managed in a different way, okay, the workflow. Once you have it settled, you start your sprint. Everybody knows what they have to do, and every day you have something that is called the daily. Have you ever heard of it? The daily meeting or the stand-up? I see Catherine saying yes. A lot of you are probably familiar with this. This is nice, okay? And in that meeting that you should go as a designer as well, if you are embedded, you just say what you're doing, if there's anything blocking you, if you need any help, and so on and so on. Now, all of this is thought of for developers, but being a designer embedded here, you should, and for sure, be doing also refinements design-wise. So the refinements that happen in the middle of the sprint are for developers to look into tasks they have on the backlog and go through them and see if they need more information, details, and so on, okay? You as a designer, you'll want to do this as well, because you want to prepare the work for next sprint, okay? So if you are working on something that you want your developers to pick up next sprint, then you also need to refine with them. Think about your ideation, when you start thinking about an idea for something. And in here we are tackling small stuff. For example, imagine if you have the WhatsApp is the product you work, maybe in one sprint you will fix like a edit, like a delete message feature, for example. Okay, always small things. And in here, you can bring into the refinement your own tasks and talk with the developers. Okay, is this possible to do? Any ideas? You show your flows with the notations or prototypes, whatever you have. So then you are sure that you are preparing your work nicely so they can pick up next sprint. Is this clear? Yeah, Daisy says yes, Catherine says yes. Perfect, yeah? So this is how we should work, okay? We always work one sprint, prepare the sprint ahead. So when developers are, this is called discovery sprints, if I'm not mistaken. When developers are developing something, that same sprint are preparing the next one. So then they have all the files ready and they can pick up, okay? There's a lot of coordination, okay, here. At the end, you have a retrospective. A retrospective is just a meeting where everybody goes through the sprint and see what went well, what went wrong, what could improve, a little bit like the reflections you do whenever you finish like a big important module, for example, okay? This is very important and very valuable because we are constantly improving the work, yeah? This is the big picture of how it's like to work in a development team, okay? Now, you as a designer, when you work in a development team, you're going to be working with more people as well, okay? It's not just going to be you and the developers, and besides there are different types of developers. So let's take a look into how is composed the development team, okay? As I told you before, they are focused on developing usually a feature or a specific part of the service, the product. Usually it has a project manager or project owner, your best friend. You are at the same level, okay? You should collaborate together. Typically you are on the same team, which is the product team as well, okay? So by now start to understand that you as a designer can belong to different teams, okay? You can belong to the chat team, that is a development team. You can belong to the design team, to the product team if they are separated, you can be a part of multiple teams within the company. This is very normal, okay? In product companies, I always work with 2 teams, development teams, and then also belong to the design team. Very normal, yeah? So you have a project manager, product owner. They are more or less the same, have more or less the same roles, okay? You have backend developers, front-end developers, iOS developers, Android developers, and there are more. Depends on the product that you are working, okay? Some companies have a Scrum Master, as I told you before, and the Scrum Master is going to be the person that actually manages all the ceremonies and the backlog. Is really helpful to have it, actually. You have a QA, quality assurance, your best friend. Make friendship with a quality assurance person, okay? Because they are the last person to see everything and approve before it's deployed or goes online, okay? And in the past, I usually coordinated with my team so that we could have in the QA of whatever we were doing, the design okay as well, yeah? This is important because sometimes there's this just a little shade, the color is not exactly it, or there's just 1 pixel or 2 that we know it's wrong, but they don't see it, okay? And if it's gonna go online, you will probably not be able to fix it again because there is no much value in fixing that, okay? And there's always other priorities. So it's important us as designers also to create a little bit our own processes to improve things, to improve work, okay? And not be the martyrs of developers, okay? It's about working together, improving the process, okay? Usually everybody's really open in these companies, okay? It just depends on like your attitude as well, for sure. You also have in the team, not always 100% of the time, okay, or sometimes it's just partial. Business intelligence, these are the people that will be looking into the metrics, okay? The conversion and all the graphics that can tell if things are going well or not, and so on, okay? And you have one UX designer or product designer, okay? Now, there are two ways to work with the team, and we talk about this in the beginning. You can be embedded in the team, yeah, or not embedded in the team. Being embedded in the team, which is what I recommend, you will have to actually be part of the team, which means to go to the Scrum ceremonies that we just saw. You actively work together. You are part of the sprint. You also work for the goal of the team. You have your tasks in the backlog. You know what the developers are doing. They know what you are doing. It's like super collaborative, okay? This gives the best results, and also you will learn a lot, okay? I learned a lot with developers because they also know a lot about technology and what is possible to be done and not, and they also give you a lot of good ideas, believe me, okay? In this setting, you should be work very close with the project manager or project owner to decide which tasks to pick, okay? Which things are important to consider. Should you plan research in advance, okay? The project manager should be your friend. Yeah, you work, I mean, you should be friends with everybody, okay? But it's a very powerful connection, okay? Because you are basically deciding, yeah, the best direction to move when you decide which tasks, which things need to be done in advance, and so on. It's very important, yeah. Then you have designers that are not embedded. Some designers just don't like to be in the development team. I mean, it could also be a little bit personal, okay? And this means they don't engage with the team on a daily basis. How this goes? Usually, you just have requests from the project manager. You do them yourself, and then you just give them to the team. This is one of the reasons why developers don't like designers so much, because basically they just go, do their thing, and then arrive and tell them, here, you have to do this. But sometimes they cannot do it, or it doesn't work, or they were not listened because they have like other requirements or other, I mean, there's always a lot, believe me, there's always a lot. And not being involved is kind of hard for them as well, because you know, it depends on the way that this goes, but they might feel like they are not so respected, yeah, because they were not able to participate in something that they actually had some knowledge or skills when it comes to how to build things or the solution. Whatever the solution you're going to design is always going to be technological, okay, if you work in tech. So they have knowledge about it as well. That is important. For example, very simple situation. Do you know all the error cases that you will have when you are designing a flow? Probably not, but they know everything that will possibly happen, and they can tell you, we need a script for this, for this, for this, and for that. If you work close together, your work is going to be super smooth, okay? You will know everything, they will know everything, and typically the end result is always better, yeah? Good. Now, as I told you before, being embedded in the development team is the best approach, so I recommend you. Of course, maybe this will not be the case for everybody, or not always is possible, but for sure I recommend. Now, how about developers in agencies? Some agencies have developers, okay? And it depends on the setup of it, if they have it or not, working with you or not. But most of the times, you just work on a project, as I told you before, or maybe the developers are from the company and so on, and that's it, okay? It really depends, but the collaboration is by far, well, it's just not so close, okay? And it's a short period of time, as you know, so far. Good. Any questions so far? I'm going to stop here a moment. How common is to have a role that would combine PM and UX design? It's quite impossible to, like, in terms of hours, to do both, like to do UX and PM. It's very hard, okay? PMs also spend a lot of time analyzing stuff with metrics and numbers, and yeah. Maybe if it's a small agency, could be, what I saw in the past was like people, for example, they were into UX design and then they become PMs. A lot of people could become project managers from all the fields, okay? But it could happen, it just depends, yeah? But I think it's a lot of work to combine both roles, okay? Question about Agile. How do companies know what to implement if it's so fast-paced? That's the work of a project manager, strategy, and so on, okay? So usually companies have at least some yearly goals, like 3 yearly goals, okay? And these goals could be to increase, well, to make X amount of money or to increase the satisfaction, whatever, it depends, okay? And then teams, yeah, needs to work their way around it to try to make it happen, okay? So the product team that has all the product manager, the people in like the tech people and so on, they will talk about, okay, what can we do, this or that, alongside with designers as well, UX hopefully. And then they decide, okay, maybe we should go this way or that way. Yeah, that's the work we are paid to do. We have to manage what can we pick up in order to achieve the goals of the company. Yeah. Who usually fills the Scrum Master role? There's like courses, there's people that their profession is to be Scrum Masters, okay, and they are hired just to do this. Not all the companies have it because it could be expensive. It depends. Okay, I've worked with both situations. But if you don't have like a Scrum Master, it could happen two things. You have somebody in the team that says, okay, besides being a designer, or yes, I work with a designer that was also a Scrum Master. Besides being a designer, I'm also the Scrum Master. So that person, besides their job, would also prepare the ceremonies and all of the stuff around it. Or it alternates, yeah? So one sprint, one person is the Scrum Master, the next sprint, another person is the Scrum Master. This could also happen, yeah? Any other questions related with the topics we talked so far? I'm a PMP wrapping up UX Academy, so doing quite the opposite transition. I'm not interested in UI at all, but the analysis experience was. Would you recommend pitching, positioning myself? You are a PM and you want to be a UX designer, is that it? I think it's okay. I think it's a good background as well, because you will be probably very good at strategizing and managing. So that's how I would sell myself. Yeah. Think about all the qualities you acquired, like being project manager or any other job you might have prior to your career change. Really reflect, okay, which skills did I got from it? Even if you work in a coffee shop, probably like you talk with a lot of people and you are good at managing things, or maybe you are good at managing stress situations. Okay, think about all of this stuff and bring this up. Yeah. But business analyst has nothing to do with the flows and so on. Okay, so I mean, I understand your recommendation here is I think it's more probably just focus on the research and the UX design. Like UX design doesn't necessarily do UI, so I would focus on that, because as a UX designer, you also need to understand and analyze what's going on. Okay, that's how I would say. Does the UX designer get to choose whether they are embedded in the team or not? It seems quite obvious that they should be. In what cases would they not be embedded? When they don't want to. So when you're hired into a company, you are usually hired for a specific team that already needs you. Okay, so the search team needs a designer, so you go to that team. It's something you can talk in the beginning, okay, and you can ask this in interviews: will I be embedded in the team or not? And they can tell you, yes, we want the designer to be embedded, or they can say, well, you choose, or in here we don't work like this. Okay, it's a little bit, it depends on the companies. Once again, yeah, just make a lot of questions when you start going to interviews. Just do a lot of questions about all of this stuff, so you are super clear about what you're getting yourself into. Yeah. So the day-to-day, let's move on. Yeah. as I was saying, so embedded designer will allow you to deliver a better experience for your users. That's your ultimate goal. You also build more influence, super important. You will build more influence and be able to advocate for the users in a stronger way. Yeah, if you are not there, if you're not embedded in the team, sometimes they will just decide on whatever they want to decide, or solve little things because they don't want to bother you, or you are just not there. If you are not there, they just go on their own. Okay. Also, being a constant presence, you can help shape your colleagues, not only the developers, to be more user-centric. This is also a part of your job, okay, in your company. Not all the companies hiring UX designers are actually user-centric, yeah? Sometimes we do have to work a little bit into creating this mindset across your colleagues, okay? And there's a lot of ways you could do this. I remember one of the companies I used to work, I had like these popcorn sessions to share like user interviews. So my colleagues would start to be more aware of what actually users were experiencing. This is part of your job, okay, to cause this awareness, yeah? As you already know, being embedded in developer team means you will attend the Scrum ceremonies and actively participate in them, except if you're not needed. Of course, imagine a refinement that is just technical stuff, then you're not needed, you don't need to go, okay? What happens to the design team then, if you are in a tech development team? Well, it still exists, you're still part of that team, and you still have things to do with that team, okay? The design team will also still have goals, their own goals. Probably they have a design system going on that need discussion. Probably they have other goals within the company itself, okay, to achieve the goals that I told you before that the CEO has and everybody has to figure out, okay? So you still have meetings with them and you still do things together and critiques and so on, yeah? By now you also realize that probably you spend a lot of hours in meetings. That's a fact, okay? Maybe not so much when you are a junior. There are some things you can avoid, but it's normal that you spend like 30 to 40% of your time in meetings, because things need to be discussed. You work with a lot of people. There's a lot of dependencies, a lot of decisions. It's very normal, okay? We cannot work blind, okay? We need to know things, yeah? So before the tips for better collaboration, what's the process when you have multiple designers working on one thing? Everybody works independently, shares their work, and PM decides, or they get together and make decisions together. Everybody should work together. The project manager is not your boss, okay? It works with you. You should be able to collaborate and decide things together, yeah? The project manager has the goals, okay, we need to achieve this for this and for that, but you also have your goals as UX designer by saying, okay, let's go this way, this or that. The only way you can work properly is to discuss things and negotiate. And sometimes you have to prove also what you're saying, okay? That's why it's very important in your early stages to develop your critical thinking. Yeah, you want to be logical when you present your reasoning. We are doing this because of this, this, and that, or this solution will do this, this, and that based on this, this, and that. Okay, if you come up with this, very rarely they will object to it. Yeah, but prepare to always explain and rationalize, let's say, your decisions and what you're doing and so on. But overall, we decide things together, okay? Yeah, exactly. Scrum wants teams to be self-sufficient, to manage themselves. There's something you should solve, go ahead and solve it, okay? So collaboration and talking and discussing things is super important, yeah? I see you know a lot about this. I was expecting you guys to be, well, not to know so much about it, so nice. Okay, now some tips for better collaboration based on my own experience, of course, yeah? The first thing we need to understand is what we do and what the developer does is different, okay? We see, we see the image and the website and whatever, and they see code, okay? So their brain works a bit different than ours, and it's normal, it's good, okay? It's good that people think in different ways. Probably developers will be more logical, And well, it depends. We can also be more logical, but sometimes we also more intuitive and so on. But we just have to acknowledge that there is this difference, okay? We have to empathize with them the same way we empathize with the users, okay? Empathy is for everybody, not only for your users, it's for your entire company. You need to understand and apply it when you talk with others to understand where they are coming from, okay? So first tip, acknowledge the difference, okay? We are different, we view things in a different way, we have different studies, different backgrounds, okay? Besides that, our education and how our brain is wired, we also have different cultures, religions, okay? We just are different from each other, and this is amazing, okay? This is how you will learn the more, and you will have, for example, if you are running an ideation session with your developers, colleagues, or people from customer care, you'll be amazed with their perspective. This is gold for you, okay? Don't let it go. Absorb the richness of working with other people that have their brain built differently, yeah? Then get closer. This is like a topic, some people, it's a bit, no, I have to code and so on. You don't have to code, okay? Code is not mandatory, but if you know the basics, it really will help you, okay? Because you will understand a little bit how they work, and you can also communicate better and design better, okay? So you don't need to go and just take a course. No, I have to take a boot camp. No, you can just go online and for example, if you go to W3 schools, I'm going to write it here, and just learn the basics of HTML, how it's like a simple page build, like the tables and the divs, and it doesn't, like, if you spend like 20 hours of your life looking into it, it's just gonna help you, believe me, okay? And it's also good to be hired to say that you know the basics of HTML and CSS, okay? At the same time, you can also inspire your colleagues, okay? If you share the principles of design, best practices, and so on, they can also learn from you. You have developers that will not be into that, and that is fine. People are not obliged to go along with you, but most of them will, okay? I faced it both. I had like developers that were like, I don't want to participate in ideation. I don't want to see anything. And I had others that were like super into it, okay? Most of them, let's say 90% are into it and 10% are not, which is great, okay? So inspire your colleagues as well, share your knowledge. It's just everything together is going to contribute for you to design the best experience possible, okay? Then, very important, work together since the beginning, okay? Kick off your projects with everybody that will work with you, developers, copywriters, your stakeholders. This will keep everybody engaged and dedicated through the project. Such a difference, okay? If you start with people since the beginning, yeah? So, for example, there's a problem we need to solve. You have a how might we based on the research you've done, and you gather everybody into this first ideation to kick off the project, okay? Even if it's just 2 weeks, or, yeah? The difference you have about the involvement and the end result is completely different if you never involve them and you just get there in the end and say, do this. So different, okay? So always think about your users and the things you can do in your company to deliver the best experience possible. Look into the problems you have to solve together. Think about solutions together. You don't have to solve the problems of the world on your own, okay? Sometimes it's really hard for designers to take in ideas from others or work with ideas from others because they have this pressure that they are the ones that have to come up with solutions, that have to drop it, okay? You don't. You can collaborate, and you should, with others, and take in everything that helps you to design the best experience. This is your responsibility, okay? And listen to what everybody has to say, their worries, their needs, the constraints, the doubts, okay? Like there's a lot. We facilitate a lot, okay? In terms of management, of work, of negotiating, okay? It's a lot to do with the work we do. Be part with the team consistently. Make yourself available to discuss, okay? Because if you feel like If they feel that you are not available or you are hard to reach, they will avoid asking you questions on how to fix certain things, and they will just go along doing what they think is correct just because they don't want to bother you, okay? And this could be a problem. Own your role as a designer, not only in your team, but within the company, okay? So do these inspiration talks for everybody, just open to the public about design or a project, share the results of design work, share user research, interviews, okay? What I was saying before. Keep improving the collaboration, okay, with the developers, refine the work with the team as many times as needed. Don't be afraid of feedback. Feedback is not something personal, it's for the project. Don't take it personal, okay? Get involved with Q&A, yeah, be part of the process, align on deliverables needed, and due dates within the sprint. This is also important, okay? Communicate, yeah? When do you need these? What deliverables do you need, okay? All of this is just keep on talking always, yeah? Do not break the communication. Add notes to your files explaining everything developers need to know. Annotations are very important. Always deliver a proper interaction flow. Please do not create your files with 300 screens close to each other without anybody understands where to click to go to where. Even from I had this before from designers, like, so you join a company and you open the files and they're like 100 screens on the side of each other, and you just don't understand, like, what is this flow about? I don't understand how this works. And so imagine a developer, yeah? So make your work super clear so the work process goes super smooth, huh? Keep an eye on the project during all stages, track the results and bring them back to the team. Very important as well. Yeah, you should be always bringing back like things that went not always bad, not always well, but the ones that went well, celebrate. This is very important. You bond with the team, okay? Work closely with the project manager to identify problems to solve and plan research together and celebrate success, as I was telling you. Reflect on failures, okay? Then, in the process, also improve yourself as you go. Ask for feedback, give feedback, be actionable with it, okay? There was a company I used to work that we had regularly feedback. We had like something was called 360 that I would ask feedback and get feedback, okay? And then we were always working on improving ourselves. In the last company, I didn't have that, so I actually did a survey and sent to the developers I was working with, and then I worked on these points. And after these 6 months, I don't remember if it was 6 months or 3 months, I went back to them and I asked them, do you think I improved on this, on that? So I was doing research myself, no? And you should, okay? So you are always progressing and evolving, okay? And that are my tips, yeah? I hope this was helpful. Let me check into the questions. I think we have 5 minutes. So thank you, everybody. Here is my LinkedIn and Instagram. In case you want to add me, feel free, okay? The Instagram is about UX, UI, by the way. It's not personal. Cool. Let me check here some questions. Do you have any tools or tips for adding enough details to your designs for developers? You should have annotation, okay? That's number one. Annotation is just for you to describe how you envision things to work, okay? And this could be, if you thought about a specific animation, for example, how long is going to take? This is the type of questions your developers will do. How long this is going to take? Or imagine you have a screen with a pop-up. They will ask, is the pop-up coming from the bottom, the center? All of this stuff needs to be there, okay? If it's not there and you can do a prototype, even better. Okay, a prototype is even better to see how things animate. But in your file, in your Figma file, you have a screen. Yeah, if you are designing the flow, let's think about getting back to the flow of the delete a message, okay, for WhatsApp. You want to have all the screens, but you want to understand where you click to go to the next screen, where you click to go to the next, and so on and so on and so on, because they will need to understand that. Below each screen, add a note in this screen, this, and this, and that, whatever you feel you need to have an annotation. Add a layer on Figma that is just called annotations. In there, you have the text. You can hide it or reveal it. That's it. That's how I would do. Yeah, it depends, okay? Paulina, this is something you should also talk with your developers. So once you are in the team, one of the first things you should do is actually to tell them, hey, so how are we going to collaborate together? What do you expect from me? And what are my expectations with you guys? How do you want me to deliver things? Just talk about things, okay? And usually this goes well. Set up a session, 30 minutes, collaborative board on Figma. Set up these small workshops to figure out your own things, yeah? How do you expect me to collaborate? And then all developers add some notes there. Then you just cluster, affinity mapping. You cluster, okay, I'm going to do like this, and that. You summarize, send an email to the team. This is what I'm going to do. Yeah, that's it. Be super practical. Again, this mindset of agile. Yeah. Any other questions? Give you a minute or so. The PDF after. This session is recorded and Designlab will publish it. So you can check it, okay? But I can also see if I can share this as a PDF. I'll take a look into it. Yeah. Did you find this session useful or was it a bit repetitive? Because I saw some of you already were kind of familiar with this stuff. Good. Okay, this is like the real work, the real life. Yeah, at least from my perspective, it's not going to be so different. Okay, perfect. Let me know if you have any final questions. Yes, Adriana, it will be online at some point, yeah, but I don't know for sure. Yeah, but it will be at the Designlab channel, I believe, in YouTube. Okay. Good. Okay. Thank you so much for coming. I hope this was helpful. Good luck in your career change. All the best. And well, I'll see you around, I guess.